Ooh, fancy.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Matthew Hadawani, and I'm very, very excited to be joined by a close personal friend of mine and professional goaltender for the New England Black Wolves, Bailey Brown. Bailey, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm awesome, brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking. I mean, wild times we're in right now, and obviously things are a little complicated with you in the NLL season. But I'm sure you've been keeping yourself busy around the GTA here.
Yeah, man. I've been working hard and just staying at home and trying to stay active the best I can, right?
I hear that. I hear that. So I got to get the most pressing question right off the bat.
Let's
I'm
hear
sure,
it.
people are going to want to know. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a door opener was I when we played together?
Honestly, brother, definitely a high 9.
A high 9? You're not going to give me the 10, man?
No, you should deserve the 10. You should.
I was a hydration specialist too.
You were amazing, buddy. We were friggin' awesome goalie partners. Everything. We were just two weirdos that absolutely connected the best way.
And one person who could do the splits and one person who almost went to IR because of them.
Perfect. Yeah, I remember you got better though. You got much better towards the end of the season.
I mean, I'll get to it here, but we have a co-goalie of the year award.
Yes.
Which is basically your award because I never touched the floor.
Oh man, we earned that together for sure. We did. That's hanging up on my wall.
I appreciate that. But yeah, let's get into it here. So you grew up in Milton, Ontario, playing hockey and football. But what was it about lacrosse that really attracted you to the sport and made you really fall in love with it?
Honestly, I think it was a big part of being a goaltender and having everybody on my team. Everybody looked at me and like saw me as like the last resort, I guess. And honestly, like, sorry, what was the question again, Bob?
What was it about lacrosse that you really loved?
Just like being the teammates and having everybody around me. And I honestly loved like everybody, my teammates made it the best for me. And I was always a little bit better at lacrosse than I was in my other sports. And my friends always knew that. So I was always pushing to do better. And I always had the dream of being in the NLL and like the whole close relationship with the NLL, with lacrosse being so small. Like you get to have the one-on-one connection with the NLL guys. And I got the real experience. Like I got to meet Bob Watson, my favorite goaltender of all time. I'm sure he was your favorite goaltender.
Yeah, I got a signed jersey in the basement.
Absolutely, man. And like, that was an awesome time for me as like a small goaltender. And like to most people, they won't even, I don't know, like they might not see Bob Watson as big as I do.
A lot of people who are probably watching this probably don't even know who Bob Watson is. I mean, lacrosse is really a niche sport in Canada, even though it goes back as, it's one of our national games outside of hockey. But how did you really kind of get into lacrosse? I mean, you touched on how much you enjoy it and how much you love it. But like I said, it's kind of a niche. So how did you get into it?
Honestly, it was totally stumbled upon.
Yeah.
It was just completely random. I grew up in a family that always played hockey. So obviously I played hockey. And one day walking through the Milton Mall with my mom, we saw lacrosse and there was like a little box TV. It was like longer and wide than the screen was. And she's like, this looks like fun. And there's two kids on each other with sticks. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. So we signed up for it and I haven't looked back.
And then goalie, how did you choose goalie? Because I mean, I'll give you the reason why I chose it. I think I've told you this story. On my very first practice, they were like, all right, everybody on the line except the goalie. And I was very overweight as a child. So I was looking at the coach and I'm like, hey, why isn't he running? They're like, look at the amount of padding he's wearing. I'm not going to make him run.
Absolutely.
So I want to do that. That's what I want to do. That's for me. So what's your story? How did you get into goaltending?
I'm almost the exact same way, man. I hated to run, and every time it was somebody's turn to go in net, I was always putting my hand up first, and nobody was crazy enough to want to stand in front of a lacrosse ball. And I guess I was just a little bit more crazier than the others.
I hear that, and it's kind of addictive. I mean, you get that first hit, and you're like, oh, it's not as
it feels good
as expected. It's a voluntary massage at a with a very high paced Indian rubber ball. But
exactly.
So you mentioned it. You mentioned you played your minor career with the Milton Mavericks until you came down to my end of the GTA with the Oakville Junior Seahawks. What was that transition like for you playing with more older and experienced players?
Honestly, it was a huge transition for me because I came from Milton and everybody knew who I was, and I felt good in my little bubble. And this was like a big step up for me.
Mhm.
And I was lucky enough to have great teammates like yourself, Matt Milford and Andrew Dierek, and then Mason Wright. I remember he was up there with us,
Yep.
and he made it a little bit better, but it was a big change for sure.
And that's a size difference in the net as well too, and it's something that I kind of struggled with in my first in the junior loop. But you were kind of always bigger and a little wider than most people in the junior loop. So how did you find that adjustment?
I found the adjustment pretty tough, but to me, my biggest adjustment for me was in minor, I was using the spoon.
Yep.
And I was getting points and I was throwing the ball constantly. And then come junior, I had the bigger net and I could move, but my 5-hole was wide open.
And for those who don't know, what we call a spoon is a circular goalie stick, which is what you're currently using in the NLL. But
yeah.
The Ontario Junior Lacrosse Association allows you to kind of branch out with different types of sticks. So you transition to a woody, which is a bent piece of tree with
yes.
with mesh in the inlay there. So kind of continue talking about that transition there.
That transition was tough because, like you said, the woody, it's like a bent piece of wood. So one half is much heavier than the other.
Yep.
And I don't think too many people know this, but goalies actually need to stand a certain way depending on which way they have the stick.
Yep.
So with me being I held my stick in my right hand. I threw the ball with the right side of the stick. My stick would tilt the wrong way.
Yeah, it's heavy too.
It's like trying to throw with a friggin' waterlogged log, man. And then eventually you had to get used to it, and it hooks a little bit different. But once you got into the motion and everything, it was a tough transition. But now going back to the spoon in the NLL is just even hard. I mean, we switch back and forth, but it is pretty tough.
Lasers out there.
Absolutely, I much prefer my spoon.
You then took another jump to the junior B loop where, like I said, we were fortunate enough to spend some time together. What do you remember most about your time with the Buzz?
My time with the Buzz was awesome. Everybody on the Buzz was amazing. They were a great family. Everybody was close. I'll remember Coach Al forever.
There's a lot of things that he could say that I'm not going to repeat here, but just believe you me that Al he's got a special place in my heart.
Yes, he does. And I remember the whole management staff, everybody there was awesome. But playing for the Buzz, and then we had the one year we played at the track.
Yep.
That was awesome.
That kind of prepared you for your next step, because again, for those who don't know, it's kind of a toss up on what type of material you're going to be playing with. Yeah. You're either going to be playing on concrete, or you can be playing in some areas that have actual turf. So did you kind of find your performance would kind of vary depending on the surface you played on?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody can cut a little bit harder on turf. The ball bounces a lot different on turf. Honestly, a big thing for me was my pads. I hated my pads on concrete. So I always like to have turf, but your movements and everything was much faster, and the guys played a little bit harder on turf because everybody was a little bit happier on turf.
Yeah. And especially if you were playing at the Toronto Rock Athletic Center, everybody's trying to show off a little bit too.
Yes. That place is wicked.
You might go and get some new shoes before the game, in a new stick. But it has a lot to do with confidence, and you kind of carry yourself as a very confident person out there on the floor. And again, from my time with you, I remember if you got scored on, it was in and out of your head in a split second.
Yes. Ever since I was younger, Gavin Lucky, he was one of my old goalie coaches. He told me that the score is always 0-0. Mm-hmm. So if you could ask me at any point in the game when I'm playing what the score is, chances are I'll have no idea. Because
I think there was a couple of times where you would come to the bench and I'd hydrate you, and you're like, oh really? Oh, what's the score, man? Like I actually have no idea what's going on.
I don't know what the score is. I just get so focused in on the game and stopping that ball.
You took another leap into the junior A loop. You were initially drafted by the Burlington Chiefs, pretty high overall, and you were dealt to the Toronto Beaches.
Yes.
What kind of goes through your head when you get actually traded?
When I was the time I got traded, I was actually sitting in the parking lot getting ready to go to waiting for the bus to pick us up to go to the game.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not too really sure what this means, but let's go for it. And you know what? Like, I was playing underneath Doug at the time in Burlington, and Doug is an amazing goaltender. Like, look at where he is today. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? This is a better opportunity for me. Let's go. And I love the beach.
It's kind of difficult. You know, you dedicate so many years to a specific franchise and then you get dealt to a different one. Did you find it hard to adapt to that new environment, or were you just kind of like same old Bailey Brown, I'm gonna come in and I'm just gonna be myself?
Honestly, I just went in, I did my own thing, and I was myself the whole time. And I think it worked out best for me. I mean, like, everybody thought you're a little different, but it's okay.
You kind of alluded to it at the beginning here and said that it was always your dream to play in the NLL. And again, for as long as I've known you, that's always been your dream. We've had so many discussions about that and you know, long bus rides to and from games. But when you finally got to hear your name called, what was that moment like?
Everything stopped. And like, my whole body just went freezing cold. I didn't really know what was going on. I just remember standing up. I looked at my mom. She was red in the face and screaming. Everybody started crying right now. And all of a sudden, the camera crew was behind me. I remember walking up on that stage and just everything was black. All I could see was the coaching staff from New England, seeing Clem and Clarkie. I was just so excited to be there.
And for those, the NLL is a relatively small league. So, I mean, you have the title of being a 4th round draft pick, but that is immensely high. Like, a lot of people don't even get drafted at all, and they come in as an unsigned free agent. But putting that jersey on for the first time, throwing that cap on, take me through that moment.
It was a crazy moment for sure. I remember doing the interview and I don't even remember what I said in the interview. It was ridiculous.
You're just on autopilot.
I was just spitting out words. I didn't know what was going on. And then I had somebody come up to me, shake my hand, say, congratulations, you're part of this PLPA now. I'm so excited for you. And then somebody else came over and shake my hand, and somebody came over and write down a bunch of stuff I said, and I didn't even know what I said. It was, and then we have this one picture, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget getting that picture taken. And I just remember thinking in my head, this is the moment I made it.
You made it.
I freaking made it. Are you kidding me? And that picture's downstairs. And every time I look at it, I just think, like, I did it. Now it's time to get playing.
So we hear a lot in sports about the pre-draft process for a lot of people, like the NHL and the NFL, where you go through different rounds of interviews and a combine. What was the pre-draft process like for you?
For me, it was pretty much like I just had to put my name in, and I had spoken with a few coaches and everything, like my junior coaches that I was affiliated with, and my ALL coaches, which is another league, the Arena Lacrosse League, that I was affiliated with. And then I was contacted through Instagram by the NLL, and they were like, hey, like, we recognize you, your name's come up a few times. And so I was like, okay, like, let's give it a shot. I went to the combine. I ended up speaking with 1 or 2 teams there. I can't really remember, but and then we had a few scrimmages, and it was a great time there.
And it was just kind of you just went through the whole process and really kind of presented yourself as
exactly. I had to show who I was, and they wanted to get to know who I was and where I was from.
Which is interesting because, you know, sometimes we hear a lot about just drafting on talent, but in the NLL, especially in your case, you know, they were drafting the person as well.
Absolutely.
They wanted to know Bailey Brown, the guy from Milton, Ontario, who fits sprinklers, and not just
exactly. They wanted to know who I got.
The guy who could stop a 100-mile-an-hour lacrosse ball.
Exactly.
So you were drafted by New England Black Bulls, and then you go to a franchise that kind of already has their goalie situation figured out with Douglas Jamieson there.
Yes.
Was that something that you were kind of hesitant about going to a franchise like that, or were you kind of excited to be able to learn from somebody who did such amazing things with the Six Nations Arrows?
I've watched Dougie for quite some time, and I've seen him do some amazing stuff with the Six Nation Arrows, and I was super excited to play behind him. And I was just as excited to play with Ethan Woods as well. I mean, I know Ethan personally before lacrosse, and the three of us just clicked really well together. I worked great with those guys. They were awesome to me the whole time. It was a really great time. And I was really excited for Dougie.
What have you been able to kind of learn from your head coach?
What was I've been able to learn from coach? I learned that coach that I need to go out there and I need to prove myself. And if I want to be a starting position one time, I need to go out and I got to show him my all and give him my all. And that's what he expects from everybody on the team. And if everybody gives everything their all, we win games. And that's why Clarkie does so well.
You grew up just outside of Toronto and about 45-ish minutes from the downtown core.
Yep.
You have a picture on your Twitter. I creeped you a little bit today.
That's all right.
And you have a picture of you in the Scotiabank Arena warming up for the game against the Toronto Rock.
Yes.
What was it like to be in a building, not for a game this time, not wearing your Toronto Rock jersey with brown number 27 on the back,
yes,
but wearing a New England Black Wolves jersey in an arena that you spent so many hours of your childhood in?
Again, just another one of those moments where I just had to sit back, and that picture is me stepping back and just taking everything in, like looking around, seeing the advertisements, all the people that I've been to a million Rock games. I know the people that are there. I've seen these faces, and to see the people, I had some people recognize me, which was amazing. And so many people were so excited for me. I had my whole family there. It was an experience I'll never forget, for sure.
The NLL is a lot, we've kind of mentioned it in this interview here, but the NLL is a lot different than a lot of other professional leagues. You kind of have to, supplement yourself outside of the season as well too. So what does a typical season look like for you, with traveling and practices and all that kind of stuff?
Typically for us, traveling was a lot for us. We would leave on like a Friday and come home like a Sunday type deal. You get up Friday morning, be at the airport for 5, fly there. You get there, usually you hang out, whatever. You get ready for practice. You always meet up with the boys. You're always together. But the traveling for me was a tough part, but you get used to it eventually.
Now, for practices, do you guys practice when you get there ahead of the game? So like if you guys are playing on a Saturday, you guys will practice on a Friday?
Yeah, so we had our own arena off to just in one town over, and it was like a soccer dome, and we pulled out the nets and everything, and we would always practice there. And then we always got like massages and everything before, after, whenever you wanted. You could go get chiro, you could go talk to any of our first aid people anytime. Anything you wanted anytime, you could go get it. It was awesome.
It's the life of a professional athlete, man.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Due to the fact that the NLL doesn't have all these lucrative TV deals and sponsorships and all that kind of stuff, it's not relatively high paying. So, like I mentioned, you work as a sprinkler fitter and fire protection.
Yes.
Where did that passion come from?
So, back in high school, somebody said to me, "You should be a firefighter," and I was like, "That's a good idea." I was like, "Okay." So then I went to school for fire protection, and I ended up doing a co-op in plumbing as well, and I took fire and plumbing and I put 2 and 2 together.
Fire and water, cancel each other out.
Exactly. So now I'm becoming a sprinkler fitter, and I'm really excited to be working in the trades, and I've been working real hard for this.
And you kind of gave me a big announcement before we hit record here, so I'm gonna give you the chance to say it again here. You had some special news about a co-op.
Yes, so I finally got to start my actual apprenticeship. Starts on Monday. So I'll be on the tools working on the job site now, and my hours are start counting now. So a couple more years of school and I'll be done and a licensed fitter.
Attaboy, proud of you, buddy.
Thanks,
how were you able to kind of balance the life of a professional athlete and then also, your career as well too?
You know what, man? It was pretty tough because also when I first got into the league, I was also switching jobs. I was switching companies at the time. And when I walked into the company, I said, I pretty much said everything. Like, this is my dream. This is what I want to be for MI Lacrosse. What can you do for me? And my company was right on board with it. They were super excited. Turns out there's already a few guys in the trade that are in the NLL. So now I'll be able to, now the union already knows how to work with us. So it will all work out in the end.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in professional lacrosse who are kind of, they're already good with their hands. They don't mind getting a little aggressive. So, they don't mind the trades.
Hey, absolutely.
But because there actually isn't going to be an NLL season this year, what are you going to be up to, man?
I'm going to be working as much as I can. That's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to be saving up as much money as I can because fortunate right now, the construction sites are open. So we're good to work. So I work with one guy all the time and just working and staying fit. I just put a gym in at my buddy's house. So I've been working out there a lot lately and trying to stay fit and trying to run, even though there's 1.5 feet of snow outside.
Hey, at the beginning, you were like, man, I chose goalie, so I don't have to run. Now you want
to run. Now I got to run on my own, on my free time, just so I can be good later.
Have the Black Wolves or the NLL kind of reached out to you guys individually and say, like, this is what we want you guys doing? And, in the meantime, like training wise, do you guys still have like what we're doing, like Zoom meetings and stuff like that?
I've had a few meetings with the boys to stay connected, and we are always constantly chatting with each other. And we got so many group chats, and guys are always talking. Yeah, we've had a few Zoom meetings. That's about. It's not much. I mean, we get the few odds, ends, and emails, but if they really need us, they contact us directly.
How excited are you for next season?
I'm super excited for next season.
What's the goal for next season?
The goal for next season is to stop as much rubber and see as much rubber as I possibly can.
Attaboy, we love to hear it. Well, Bailey, I want to thank you so much for joining me, man. Great to just reconnect with you and hear your story. Because I mean, like I said, I've been a huge fan of yours and lucky enough to be a teammate. So to see you get to this pinnacle in your life and reach that summit of your dream, as a personal friend, I'm very proud of you. So again, thank you so much for your time.
No problem, bro. Thanks a lot.
You bet.